So episode 3 of The Acolyte was anything but an ordinary episode. It kind of shook the Star Wars world, and it had a lot of subversive messaging. It had a lot of legends and canon intertwining, intermingling. It's basically a complete new chapter with just one switch, with just one episode. We got so much to talk about that it's kind of insane how much they put in there. Naturally, one of the more controversial scenes coming from the Acolyte episode 3 is the Witches of Brandok. That was basically what kind of interconnected everything and disconnected everything at the same time. It is really right down the middle. You either love it or hate it, but it got a reaction out of the fandom. What you might have missed, however, during all that time is that in that scene, we have such a big moment that I needed to talk about it in this video, and I think they purposely put everything at the front of the episode. They front-loaded the episode with so much information that we needed to parse through it because, I mean, we know what happened with May and Osha, and when they were kids, their home got burnt down, everybody got killed. We kind of got that information from episode 1 and 2 when they are adults, but all the witches of Brandok and the Force masquerading as this thread thing coming from, of course, the Night Sisters of Dathomir, where we see also in the Ahsoka season 1 where they are using the same terminology. In fact, the thread of fate is also used where they can also predict the future. So I don't know if these witches can do the same thing, can predict or calculate the future, but at the very least they are shown to have a complete different understanding from a dogmatic view of the Force. Say what you will, but at the very least the Acolyte is tackling the gray side of the Force, the both the light and the dark side of it, very maturely, instead of how we saw it in The Last Jedi, where it was practically a teenager's nightmare of how that dialogue should go, and in the end nothing got resolved or nothing was really changed, where in the Acolyte they're actually talking about it, and in the end you kind of see the witches kind of sacrifice themselves just in order to not get into a confrontation with the light side Jedi. We know that the Jedi Order sees it as light side and dark side, so do the Sith, but these Force cultists have a different perspective. So did you notice that during the Ascension scene of Osha and May, in that scene we have moons in the background going in eclipse? That was a direct Easter egg of Ashla and Bogan, the moons of Tython. So you can clearly see here red and blue moons on Brandok in the night sky eclipsing each other as Mother Anastasia and her coven perform a powerful ritual inducting Osha and May into their ranks, albeit only May because Osha doesn't succeed in doing so, fortunately for her. But for those who missed it, you see this logo right here. This came out of The Last Jedi, and it has been used as the prime Jedi movie, the Origins of the Force movie that is coming supposedly in a couple of years. This logo right here representing both the dark and the light, and both are intertwined within each other. This is a direct Easter egg to these two moons and the Tython planet where the Jedi have their origins. In Legends, Tython was a world connected to the origins of the Jedi Order, and many have speculated that it might have been the first Jedi temple built there, although in canon it was shown that Ahch-To was actually the first site of the Jedi temple. Fortunately for us, Tython is already established in the Star Wars canon thanks to the Star Wars comics. You see, your guy got you covered, because in the Darth Vader comic series and also in the Dr. Aphra comic series, we have a mention of Tython. But there is a quirk. The Tython moons, similar Ashla and Bogan, have not become canon as of yet. They are legends so far. One of the biggest Tython appearances came, of course, in The Mandalorian Season 2, when Grogu meditates on the Seeing Stone. They both travel to the planet Tython, but we got no mention or look at any moons. So let's talk about them in Legends and what is said, because everything might be featured in this new canon movie that is coming about the origins of the Jedi. There, we might get a lot more information about both the moons, Tython, and the first Jedi temple, hopefully, or one of the first. In Legends, it is said that ancient Jedi reflected on the nature of Tython's Anakin's moons, they meditated upon them. They were both named Ashla and Bogan, and it helped them develop the concepts of both the light and the dark side aspects of the Force. This is why Dave Filoni sometimes plays with these names, and we have mentions of them in Star Wars Rebels and other features, because Ashla was the original name of the light side and Bogan was the original name of the dark side. In the end, of course, as I mentioned, this was made canon thanks to an episode in Star Wars Rebels where they come upon the Force-sensitive mysterious being known as the Bendu. We all remember the Bendu, and that powerful being claimed that it represented both the Ashla and the Bogan, the center. Now, taking in mind all of this, it does definitely seem that in the Acolyte Episode 3, when the witches are performing their ceremony, both of these moons, one red, one blue, they are a complete parallel with the moons of Tython. So not saying that these are these two moons, but they are indicative of it. They were directly taken from legends and served as an Easter egg during this scene. It reflects also on the Mother, because the Mother has very much similar views to the Bendu. She is at the center. When Osha and May fight about the Jedi and the witches and what do they represent, good or bad, the Mother intervenes and says that it's not about good or bad. The Force is alive itself and not to be used as a tool by either the Jedi or anybody else. Nobody should wield it for their own personal gains. Easier said than done, of course, and we're gonna see how this series develops more of this concept. So they're definitely trying to cater to both canon and legends. They're trying to get the stories straight. We only get hints at first, but it's gonna go to the point where I think the movie that is being planned, the Dawn of the Jedi movie by James Mangold, if I'm not mistaken, it pretty much seemed that it's going that route. The Force is being rewritten, it's being recompiled into something different, something that the Jedi didn't really tell us, that it's not just the light side and we should be content. There will always be darkness, and how do we try to control both of these sides? Stay centered, stay in the middle. In actuality, if you think about it, one of our favorite Jedi is actually kind of more so the same thing. Qui-Gon was a Jedi who was not content with how the Jedi Order was going with the Jedi High Council. He had his own ideas and his own version of the Force, albeit not completely confessed. Now we see Master Soul too. He has that type of a vibe about him, that Qui-Gon vibe that we've talked about. And there's also another mystery that I wanted to talk about in another video, tackle it, because, I mean, Anakin Skywalker is not the only being created by the Force itself. It seems that Mother Anastasia has also created both Osha and May from the quote-unquote Force, or created them as it was insinuated. So that's another topic also, and it's going to be interesting to see what we find there as well. I would love to know also, what do you guys think? Talk to me down below.